This is not a protected territory. It is a real Pandora's box, a huge continent crushed by an ice sheet almost 3 kilometers thick, a space where the average temperature can drop to minus 80 degrees Celsius. A white and silent desert, the last outpost of the planet where humans have stepped extremely rarely, a continent that has been officially declared a territory of science and peace. This is exactly how the generally accepted version sounds: orderly, rational, and perhaps one of the largest stories that humanity believed in the 20th century. Because under this icy shell, in the darkness where sunlight has not penetrated for millions of years, hide anomalies that do not fit well into the framework of familiar physics. Secrets that, during the times of nuclear confrontation, forced deadly opponents to forget about the conflict, sit at the same table, and sign a unique agreement. A document that, in fact, does not so much open Antarctica for research as it strictly regulates it. It is as if it locks the continent, turning it into a kind of quarantine territory. And this investigation is not about penguins and not about the climate. It is about what made the strongest powers of the planet fear the last unexplored continent. What exactly they found there and why they try so hard to keep it a secret. The question is not why we are supposedly not allowed to study Antarctica. The question is what will happen when it becomes impossible to hide it. So, our story begins not on the surface of the Earth, but about 400 kilometers above it, in the cold void of space. 2006. 2 NASA satellites, participants in the GRACE mission, Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment. Their unofficial names are Tom and Jerry. They do not take photos, in fact they are blind. Their task is different, to measure the mass of the planet. The devices move in the same orbit, maintaining a distance of about 220 kilometers and recording any changes in the distance between themselves with a precision of microns. When the first satellite passes over an area with a stronger gravity, for example over a mountain range or a large, dense structure, it accelerates slightly. The distance between the devices changes and the instruments record this. This is how the map of Earth's gravitational anomalies is created. Usually, it is predictable. Mountain systems are heavier, ocean trenches are lighter. But when Tom and Jerry fly over East Antarctica, over a region called Wilkes Land, something happens that causes engineers in Houston to repeatedly double-check the calculations. The instruments record a giant mascon, an area of mass concentration. Under a 3-kilometer layer of ice, in the lifeless icy desert, something extremely dense and heavy is hidden. The scale is amazing, a diameter of about 320 kilometers. In the center of the anomaly is an even denser, almost perfectly round core with a diameter of about 50 kilometers. NASA scientists offer an explanation, logical and at the same time disturbing. According to their version, it is a giant impact crater left after the fall of an asteroid that was about twice as large as the one that destroyed the dinosaurs. The estimated age is about 250 million years. It was then that the Permian-Triassic extinction occurred, when up to 96% of marine species disappeared. This discovery alone could have become the sensation of the century, but here an important caveat appears. GRACE data shows the mass, but not the shape of the object. Therefore, the crater hypothesis remains only an assumption based on a coincidence with an ancient tectonic fault that arose during the separation of Australia. However, there is another version, much more disturbing. A mascon means a concentration of mass, but what if this mass is not just compacted rock? What if it is the object itself? What if 250 million years ago something huge, metallic, and ultra-dense did not just collide with the Earth, but pierced the crust and stayed inside? Buried under 3-kilometer ice. All this would sound like pure science fiction if not for one important context: the events that took place in this sector decades earlier. And if not for the fact that during all this time, no one has dared to drill the ice exactly in the area of Wilkes Land. Officially, because it is extremely difficult and expensive. Unofficially, because this zone, like many others, is under unspoken restrictions. It's as if they discovered a magnet and are afraid to touch it. To understand this fear, you need to go back to the past. The beginning of the 20th century. Antarctica is the last white area on the world map. In 1911, the famous race of Amundsen and Scott takes place. This is not just a competition, it is a struggle for influence. Each expedition sets up a flag, claiming rights to huge territories. Britain, Norway, France, Australia. The continent begins to be divided into sectors, often exceeding the size of the countries themselves, and suddenly a late player appears. 1938, just a year before the start of the Second World War. Nazi Germany, obsessed with ideas of technological superiority and the search for new spaces, sends a secret expedition to Antarctica. This is a historical fact. The operation was named New Swabia. The ship, Schwabenland, leaves Hamburg, an unusual vessel, actually a floating catamaran airbase that launches heavy seaplanes using a steam catapult. The expedition is led by Captain Alfred Richer, an experienced polar explorer. The official goal sounds strange: securing whaling for the production of margarine. In 1938, on the eve of a world war, margarine. The real goal is to secure territory. The planes make 15 flights, photograph more than 600,000 square kilometers, drop thousands of metal pennants with a swastika, and give the region the name New Swabia. And they find a strange place, the Schirmacher Oasis, a piece of land about 35 kilometers long, free of ice. In the very heart of the icy continent, dozens of freshwater lakes, the temperature there is 10 to 15 degrees higher than the environment. Richer reports to Berlin. The task is completed. But what exactly were they looking for? Here, facts end and assumptions begin. After the war, rumors appear about Base 211, a secret shelter in warm subglacial caves, that some Nazi units with some experimental technologies went there in submarines. All this could be considered a fantasy if not for the events of 1945. Germany surrenders in May, but in July and August, 2 German submarines, U-530 and U-977, arrive at the Argentine port of Mar del Plata. Their crews surrender. These are not ordinary submarines. These are Type 21 boats, the most technological in the world at that time, capable of not surfacing for weeks. The ideal transport for a secret mission. Their logs are empty, the testimony of the crews is vague. They claim that they were just patrolling the ocean, but rumors say something else, that they landed someone in southern latitudes, possibly in New Swabia. All this could be forgotten if not for the reaction of the Allies. They took it seriously. 1946, just a year after the end of the most destructive war in history. The USA suddenly forms the largest expedition ever sent to Antarctica, and it's not a scientific mission, it's a military operation. It was called High Jump, Task Force 68. The leader is Admiral Richard Byrd, a legendary polar explorer. The group includes 13 ships, an aircraft carrier, destroyers, tankers, and icebreakers. About 4,700 people and dozens of planes. The official goal is training troops and testing equipment in extreme cold conditions. But the question arises, why train troops where there is no enemy? Unless the enemy was there. The expedition was planned for 6 months but was completed in just 8 weeks. And unexpectedly, and with losses. Officially, it was reported about the crash of the PBM George I plane, an accident. However, unofficial reports mentioned unidentified objects and the loss of several aircraft. After Byrd's return, he is called to closed hearings in Congress. Their protocols remain classified. Then, a decade of silence follows. The world plunges into the Cold War, and suddenly in 1957, the International Geophysical Year is announced. a large-scale scientific program for the study of the Earth, where the main attention is unexpectedly paid to Antarctica. Countries that were recently ready to destroy each other begin to cooperate. The USA is building the Amundsen-Scott Station. The USSR creates the Vostok and Pole of Inaccessibility Stations. In 1959, 12 countries signed the Antarctic Treaty, banning military activities and securing the use of the continent exclusively for scientific purposes. But the most unusual thing is the right of any country to inspect any station without warning. This is not trust, but mutual control. Today, Antarctica seems open to tourists, but travelers are allowed only to a small part of the peninsula along strictly limited routes. Most of the continent remains a restricted area, and under the Vostok Station, one of the most mysterious places on Earth is hidden, Lake Vostok, a giant body of water with an area of about 15,000 square kilometers, hidden under 4 kilometers of ice and isolated from the outside world for millions of years. In 2012, scientists first reached its water and discovered thousands of genetic sequences of microorganisms, many of which do not match anything known to science. And then new, strange data appear. The ANITA experiment records rare events. High-energy neutrinos come not from space, but from under the Earth's surface. Scientists offer different explanations, but the mystery remains. Antarctica remains the least explored continent on Earth. Under its ice shield hide mountains, lakes, ancient ecosystems, and geological structures hundreds of millions of years old. And the more technologies humanity has, the more new questions arise. Because the ice cover is gradually changing, opening access to secrets hidden for millions of years, and the main question is no longer what is hidden there. The main question is what exactly humanity will discover when it can finally look there for real. Friends, share in the comments, what do you think about this story? If the video was interesting, support us with a like and subscription to the channel. See you soon.